let's chat about the 5 biggest mistakes the beginner nail artists make and how to fix them. Hi, hello. Hi, how are you? Today, we'll be talking about the top 5 biggest mistakes beginner nail artists make and how you can fix them. So the first and the very biggest, it still happens to the best of us when we're being impatient, when we're in a rush, when we got to get a client out the door, when we're doing our own nails.
Just want to go to bed.
Smearing and smudging your hard work. Still happens to me. I can show you an example of my most recent smudge. So we all know the reason this happens is because the layer on top is not completely dry, whatever that means. If you're using paint, polish,
it needs to be dry.
If you're using a gel or a gel product, you want to make sure that it's cured, and you want to make sure that the dispersion layer isn't going to smear over the rest of your design. The easiest way to do that is to take a little lint-free wipe with a teeny little bit of alcohol and just gently cleanse the surface of the nail. And that should help any pigmentation that might be in the dispersion layer. It'll help stop it from smearing. Also, you want to use a nice juicy top coat and you want to float it over the nail. You want to make sure that you have a nice generous amount of top coat on the brush so that when you're going in, you're not dragging through the design, it's literally floating over the nail. The brush is not making any contact to the surface of the nail, so make sure everything is completely dry, remove any excess pigmentation from a dispersion layer, and use your floaty top coat. You should have no more problems with your smudging and smearing designs. Number 2, not capping the free edge. If you're not capping the free edge, you're not going to get the wear time out of the nails that you want. It's going to limit any potential tip wear, and it's going to make the manicure last that much longer because there's nothing able to get underneath. Essentially, you want to wrap the entire free edge. Anything that's off the nail, you want to make sure that the top coat goes along the side and slightly underneath to fully encapsulate the design, and it will help it last longer and stay looking super fresh. Number 3, not bringing your design to the edges of the nail and off the nail. This sounds a little bit weird, I know. If you're doing a design, a pattern that covers the entire nail, you want to make sure that that pattern actually makes it to the edge of the nail and actually looks like it continues off the nail. Like as if you put a piece of wallpaper or fabric over the nail and the pattern is going to continue. So you'll end up having half a flower off the nail. A leaf or something is going to start on the nail and then it would end off the nail, but we don't see it because it's not there, right? I feel like I'm not explaining this one well. Basically, the entire composition of the design will look more cohesive and put together if that design on the nail actually flows outward and makes it to the edge of the nail. Number 4, drip or splatter nails done with a dotting tool that don't quite flow. They're a little staccato, if you will. Kind of like what I've noticed and what I used to do when making drips with a dotting tool is you get your dotting tool, you've got your color on it, you put the dot where you want the end of the drip, and then you just sort of dot it up to the top. That is an excellent starting point. But take a look, find a picture, another nail artist even, but find a picture of something dripping down a surface like that, down a wall or something. It doesn't kind of jump. It's not really like jumpy. It's very smooth. It's very fluid. The weight of whatever is dripping, very round, very fluid. There's not so many sharp corners and edges and angles. It's a soft, round, fluid design. So instead of taking your dotting tool and making your drip and then dotting it backwards, go ahead, make your drip where you want it. Make all your drips wherever they need to be. And from there, pull the product up to the top. Instead of having a perfect circle with a straight line or a dotted line essentially coming up from it, that does not look like a drip. That looks like a Christmas ornament or a basketball hanging from a string or something like that. So you want to take your perfectly round dot and you want to make it more of a teardrop shape so that it flows into the tail behind it that's going to connect to the very top. And at the top, that's where you really want to take your time. It'll almost look like an upside down drip, if that makes sense, the way they kind of go. You want more space at the top, nice and round, And then as the drips come down, there'll be less space between them. Does that make sense? I'll make sure to have an example for you because my words do not express my thoughts properly. Also, definitely using a paint or like a product that flows easier as opposed to something that stays in one spot will make your drip art a lot easier. So I usually use like a gel paint type thing, and those do not flow as easily as something thinner. So take, for example, acrylic paint. You'll be able to get that fluid motion a lot easier because it's a lot thinner of a consistency to paint with. Have no fear if you don't have tons of product. There are things that you can do to manipulate the product you have. If it's just acrylic paint, you can add some water to it. If it's a gel product, you can add some alcohol to it. Don't add acetone to any nail polish, that won't work. You can get a nail polish thinner, and that will make it a touch more fluid as well. Just take a little, whatever you're using, take a little bit out of its container, put it on a palette, mix it with whatever medium will work, and it will thin it out beautifully. Just be aware of any corners or like weird, harsh kind of, well, corners. There should be no corners in a drip design. Number 5, putting decals or nail stickers over a finished filed nail. That sounds like it should be correct, right? It's not. First of all, they don't stick well to a finished filed nail. They need a product to stick to, not just that surface with grooves in it. It needs something, you know, to stick to better. Anyway, also, you'll notice if you try to stick your decal to a finished filed nail, like I said, it doesn't stick the greatest. Once you've got all your decals on and you go to top coat, you will notice that the marks and the grooves that are in the nail behind the decal, you'll see the grooves and the marks that are caused by finish filing underneath the decal. And because there's no top coat going into those grooves, it just stays kind of foggy and dusty looking because you have a sticker, piece of plastic, whatever they're made out of, over top of it before you put the top coat on. So the top coat, like I said, can't get into the nooks and crannies and grooves and make it all shiny. So if you're working on a finished file nail, put down your top coat first, then put down your decal, add another top coat. All right, so those are my 5 biggest mistakes that I have noticed beginner nail artists make. There are more on my list, but I'm just sticking with 5 right now. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. That will let me know to do this again. And also, it will help more people put their eyeballs on this video because this could actually help people. So if you know somebody who's really into nail art and maybe just starting, send them this video. If you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. I post at least once a week. We never know what day. So you can turn your bell notification on if you want to be notified when I finally upload. A fly just flew across and I'm not repeating myself. Anyway, I will see you in my next video. Bye.